Welcome to Funnel Hacker Radio Podcast, where we go behind the scenes and uncover the tactics and strategies top entrepreneurs are using to make more sales, dominate their markets, and how you can get those same results. Here's your host, Dave Woodward.
Welcome back to Funnel Hacker Radio. I'm your host, Dave Woodward, and today you guys are in for a massive treat. I have the opportunity of having Mike Killen with us. Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, Dave, thank you for having me.
I am so excited. This is one of the topics I get a lot of questions about. So for those of you guys who don't know Mike, he's a marketing funnel sales coach and teaches people how to sell funnels. So Mike, I'm way excited to have you on today. This is one of the things I get asked all the time, and that is, gosh, how much can I sell a funnel for? How do I sell a funnel? What's the theory behind it? How do you do that kind of stuff? So I really appreciate you taking time for our audience today and really kind of filling them in. And so I just want to kind of dive right in. Any other thing you want to mention as far as your own background or an intro that I didn't say?
No, that's perfect. I'm a coach with WP Elevation as well, and we use ClickFunnels. And long and short is, I moved into selling just marketing funnels to our customers because I realized that websites just didn't get the returns that I wanted, and I realized a website was one small part of this large overall process. And started building those for customers, and bit by bit, other people started asking me. They're like, "Well, how much are you selling them for? How are you finding customers for it?" And we kind of created a coaching program for sell your service, born out of that.
I love it. Well, let's address the biggest issue here, and that is, what's the difference in your opinion between a website and a funnel?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we get this a lot. And I've actually presented on this. In my opinion, a website is typically what people do, businesses go for when they think they have a problem with their overall marketing and business and lead generation strategy. Most people go, I need more customers, therefore I'm going to get a website. And they think that this kind of sexy front-end website is going to solve all of their problems. And it's kind of like, if your guys have built websites in the past, maybe they can put their hands up kind of through the radio. How many times have you built a website for a customer? I don't know if you've experienced this, Dave, and the customer's gone, right, well, where are my customers? Where are my sales? And why aren't I at the top of Google yet?
I think that happens all the time. That's
right.
It's the holy grail of website building, I guess.
Yeah, and this is the thing. In my opinion, websites are one part of a larger system that you have to have for your business. A funnel to me is the exact same process that we would have used, 10, 15, maybe even 100 years ago, where you're trying to gain attraction in the marketplace, bring people back to a way that they can communicate with you, give them something useful that they can walk away with, and then follow up with them and have a conversation with them later on. And a website is amazing for one part of that, but there's parts at the top and there's parts at the end that it just doesn't work with. A website to me is fairly static. It's one point. Sure, you might have a blog. It might even be where you host your funnel, but the website in itself is pretty static. But there's an enormous amount that you've got to take care of on the top end, and there's an enormous amount that you've got to take care of on the bottom end. And once we start introducing that to customers, they kind of seem happy to blow out this concept of one website as a project into a larger system that they would call a marketing funnel.
I love that. I think that this for us is one of the main things. I've talked to a lot of people as far as, what's the difference? And I look at a lot of websites kind of as a big brochure, a big business card. But again, I think the key, as you mentioned, it's static. And I think that's the problem people make the biggest mistake of when they look at a funnel, is the ability to have it extremely dynamic and to be able to relate specifically to leading a person down a logical path to make the right decision for that customer. So I just love that you're doing this. So let's kind of talk about this whole idea as far as how you look at, selling a funnel. What's the theory behind selling a funnel? How do you approach it? How do you talk to a client about it? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so it's a good question, because unfortunately we can't start the place where people want to start, which is in front of a customer saying to them, give me some money and I'm going to give you a funnel. Unfortunately, we can't start there. I'd love to, but we kind of have to work backwards a little bit. The most important part when it comes to selling a funnel is you have to be really clear on what it is that you want to help people do. We might think that selling marketing funnels is a bit of a niche, but actually it's not. Let's take one of my colleagues, Cam, for example. He helps social influencers monetize their online presence. That's actually what he does. He helps find people who have got big social followings and help find products for them that he can then, help sell to their audience. Now, he does that with a marketing funnel. But what he does is he's really clear, and he says, I help this particular customer, this particular industry, this particular vertical solve this particular problem or get to this particular goal. So he's really clear on who it is that he helps. And then from there, we need to go and find that particular type of customer and start having conversations with them. And in my opinion, it's as easy as approaching these guys and saying, hey, look, this is who I help. What kind of problems are you facing? What is it that I can help with? And if you know that market really, really, really well, you should be able to come up with content and posts and lead magnets and webinars and videos and podcasts that help them do something. That's the first way to get in front of them. But you have to be really clear on who you are and who you are targeting,
I love that. So you recommend that a person picks a niche or a vertical and specializes in that niche?
100%. It's you can sell funnels to anyone, but it's a very expensive way to sell products. For example, our agency that we have, we just sell funnels for online course-based businesses. We found enormous growth there. Even that is actually too broad, we found, because we found that we've had to specialize within that. The two reasons, and I'm sure, and I've heard your guys talk about this, specializing within a vertical or a niche is important. First of all, you find enormous depth within that. It's actually very easy to start finding customers, and a lot of the time we're actually only looking for one more customer at a time. That's really who we're looking after. Secondly, what it allows you to do is standardize the results that you can get for that particular type of person. I know what course-based businesses want. Some of my friends know what pharmaceutical companies want. Some of them know what online fitness companies want. Some of them know what coaches want. By choosing a vertical, it doesn't always mean industry. And I think we have to be clear on that as well. Verticalization doesn't always mean industry, but it can do if that's what you want to go after. But choosing a specific type of customer and the type of characteristics that they've got is the first step towards finding customers who want to buy marketing funnels from you.
Oh man, I love that. I totally agree. So tell me, now that I guess one more question on that is, do you just pick one that you are passionate about yourself? Do you pick one that you think you're going to make the most money at? How do you actually pick that niche or that vertical?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because we've kind of got like this dichotomy between who's easy to get and who's easy to get results for. And it's really important that we're clear on the distinction between those two. For example, non-for-profits and startups are an incredibly easy customer to target because they always need help. They always need help, right?
Yes.
Don't we know that, right? But how many of those guys actually have budget to be able to, hire your services? The truth is not that many, really they don't. And we'll probably come on to pricing in a little bit, but it's easy for me to find customers who want me. Okay, that's easy. I can go out there and I can just start, going to networks and finding those types of guys. On the other hand, there are customers that are easy to get results for. Now, a customer that's easy to get results for is someone who will seriously see the benefit of working with you. Let's say you find a customer who's got $100,000 a year in revenue. Now, some of your guys are going to be working with customers with a lot less than that. Some of them with a hell of a lot more, If I get 10%, if I add 10% to their top line, so if I add 10 grand a year to their business, that's a hell of a result. And frankly, that probably pays for the most basic level of my service if I just add 10 grand onto their top line. But chances are they've already got revenue, which means they already have subscribers, probably already got leads, and they've probably already got customers. So that's one person that I can get awesome results for. If we then scale that up even further, someone who's making, 200 grand or 2 million, if I get 10% to their top line of those same customers, that's someone who I can get massive results for. And those customers are out there. They need help. They need reliable suppliers, and they need people to manage this overall funnel process to add revenue to their business, because at the moment they're not growing. There's a lot of businesses out there that aren't growing. So I would argue, find someone who you can add results to. Find someone who that you can seriously help. And that may mean you might think, well, that's not necessarily an industry. It's actually a particular type of customer. Maybe they've got 5 people, they sell online products, or they sell, physical products. Work out the characteristics of who you can help, not just who is easy to go after,
I love that. We talk a lot about the ability to be able and willing to spend money. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
people who are very willing to, but they're just not able to. It kind of goes back to your nonprofit. Gosh, if I had the money, I'd totally do it, but I don't. So I'm not able to. So I love that idea as far as able and willing to spend. And again, your extra caveat there as far as who you can actually get great results for just ties that down even more. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and there's this kind of thing like, we had a customer who approached us a long time ago who was in the wool manufacturing business, and I was like, I don't really care what the product is. It sounds insane, like that there's this huge market out there. And she said that she wanted to get to $250,000 a year. I was like, okay, that's fine. How long have you been going? How many customers have you got? What's your current revenue? And it was 0 for all of it. She just started. And I was like, well, to get you to $250,000 is going to cost you $500,000. Like that's it. There's nothing I can do about that. To get to $250,000 for your business model, it's going to cost you $500,000. And of course, she didn't have that. So I was like, even if I got to $250,000, 100% increase would be $250,000. Whereas someone who's like some of our insurance customers who are, $250,000 a month, to get them, 10% on their revenue, which is a much easier for me. It's a much easier job for me to get 10% for someone, and yet it's the same amount of money. So I kind of think, if I even double someone who's at 50 grand to get them to 50 grand, so adding 100%, I can still get a lot more for someone who's at 500,000 and just adding 10% onto their business,
I love that. Such a great approach. I love the idea as far as realizing what is the result that they expect and how much work do you have to put in to make that happen. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell me what's the next step? So now you've kind of found the niche, found the kind of the vertical that you want. You know what you need from an ROI standpoint. How do you then sell a funnel?
Yeah. So first of all, let's say we know who we're going after. You guys are obviously very, very good at targeting ads, making sure that you're going after people. I want to be clear as well that Facebook advertising is one option that you've got.
I love that.
Right. The reality is, if it costs me $3,000 to fly out to Miami to see someone who I think is going to be perfect for my business, but I know they're going to bring in $14,000 a month, I'm going to spend that $3,000. I'm going to find that $3,000 somewhere and go out there and fly there and find and speak to those people. Now, the way that we have found those types of customers, first of all, is by, interestingly, telling people the characteristics that we're looking for in a customer. I couldn't believe how quickly we started getting inquiries, because people want to help. Your friends want to help. Your network wants to help. Your current customers want to help. If you're brand new starting today, the rest of your friends want to help you. And if you're really clear about the types of businesses that you can help with those characteristics, and you're really specific about who it is you can go after, and tell people that, tell them that this is who you're going after, I promise you will have inquiries faster than you realize. They're not going to come from traditional sources. They're going to come from places like your referral network, like online. But it's because you're really clear in who it is that you're going after.
Great advice. I love that. And I agree. I think what matters most is identifying, get that clarity, and then spend whatever it takes to get that client. We talk a lot about, if you're getting started, you may have to build your first funnel for free, way you get results and it actually sticks, and you can say, hey, I did this. And that is a huge, and then obviously make sure that the client you're getting the results for is going to talk to others about it, and you can use their results.
Yeah, it's interesting because we actually say to customers, so we build learning management systems, and we've said to a few of them that we'll give you this is a $25,000, $30,000 product, and I've said, I'll give that to you for free because I know that you're going to have to do so much more within your business to be able to get results from this learning management system, which happens to be a funnel. So that's another thing as well, is are you willing, and seriously willing, genuinely, obsessed with the idea of putting 100% helpful, useful content out there? We are the equivalent of, there's a saying, it must be in the US as well, that the cobbler's children has no shoes.
Of course.
We're really bad as funnel builders at putting out useful content, and yet it's our biggest complaint with customers when they don't want to put out useful content. Right?
I'm only laughing because we've started producing a massive amount of content. I guess some people would say almost too much content, but for that one reason, and that is you have to be willing to put the content out there. You have to do it.
Absolutely. And if you're not willing to put aside even an hour a day or two a week to create something that's genuinely useful, bearing in mind, you know who your customer is, you know what their problems are, you know what their goals are, you should be creating stuff and getting that to them. This is why Facebook marketing has kind of eclipsed everything else, because I'm able to get that content to people in an easier way than ever. But that has never stopped me from manually finding people on LinkedIn, within my network, talking to my friends, talking to my current customers and saying, hey, we just came up with this new process on how to keep more members, or we've come up with this new way of building a private Facebook group and increasing attrition, because I know that these are the problems that my customers face, and saying, I want you to read this. And I don't ask for anything in return. I give it to them. And it's so important that we're saying, I want to give you value. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to get you results after you give me money. I'm here to give you results way before you're even willing to get out your checkbook. And that's the thing. You have to be seriously committed to helping this particular audience, you know?
I love that. Obviously, that's why we're doing this podcast right now. I know you've got a podcast on your site as well.
Yeah.
Podcasting, I talk to a lot of people about it all the time, is probably one of the easiest ways to get content out.
So easy, you know?
But again, regardless, you have to make sure you're getting content out on a regular basis. So now that you've identified your niche, you've really specialized it, you've gone out, asked for referrals, you're producing content, what's the next step to really selling a funnel?
Right, the next step is to have a conversation with someone. And this is the one that always kills me, because I'm always staggered at how difficult other people make this. Let's say that, Dave, you have, this online course business or whatever it is. Hey, Dave, I'd love to get a conversation with you. Bearing in mind, I've sent free content. I've started having a conversation in my inbox. You might be an email subscriber. I've sent you a couple of videos. We've had a few email conversations. Hey, look, I really want to hop on the phone with you because I just want to understand the going through. It's quite clear that I don't want to sell to you. I just want to understand what you're going through. And by running through and asking, what is it you want? Okay, what are your goals? What are the problems you're facing? What is it? We're not telling them what we do. We're just asking, what do they want and what are the problems that they're facing? I published a video recently saying about how, ask where they are at the moment. What kind of traffic do you have at the moment? What kind of leads are you getting? How many subscribers have you got? What's your most popular blog post? How many sales do you get from your current customers? Because we all know that there's a variety of solutions that we could provide, but we don't know enough about the customer yet to be able to provide that. And what we do is we run this thing called the prescription, which is taken from Frank Kern, so I cannot claim ownership to this at all, where he basically says, after that, he'll repeat back and he'll say, okay, so you want to sell more courses online. You've currently got 100 customers, but you want to have 110 customers. Does that sound about right? And because I'm repeating back to you what you've said, I haven't spoken throughout this entire thing. I've just been asking questions. You'll go, yeah, that's about it. And already you're giving them clarity. So many customers don't have this clarity, and you've given them that just by asking those questions. And all we do is this magic phrase, and I wish people would use it more, is, would you like some help with that? And
I love that.
They're not going to say no. They're going to say, yeah, I'd love some help with that. That'd be great. Which is your chance to go, fantastic, I'm going to get you over a proposal, fantastic, let's have a proper discovery call, fantastic, let me fly out and meet with you. That is your hook to getting them bought into the fact that you are someone who help them. You've given them clarity, you've already been helping them because you've been giving them free content and you've given them clarity. And now you're saying, would you like some help with that? And that's all you have to do going forward. And we have most people kind of close within the next month or so from that conversation.
I think that's fantastic. I know years ago I read a book called Socratic Selling, and it was all based on what you just made mention of. It's questions. It's, Socrates was always about asking questions and questions. And I think the more questions that you can ask a person, just your logical thought process of the questions that you're asking is what builds up your credibility almost instantly. Because as you made mention, your client's going, I never thought about that. Or, you know what? I now have clarity. You're right. I want to go from 100 to 110, or from 1,000 to 1,265, or whatever the number might be for them. But just getting that number out there and then saying, hey, so would you like some help with that? It's really hard to say no once they've identified there's a problem.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes they are going to say no. Okay. And sometimes they're going to go, do you know what? At the moment, no. Maybe they're anxious. fine. Don't go, do you know what? Don't worry about it. You're obviously not ready for me at the moment. Tell you what, I'll come back and speak to you in a few months. And this is the thing, is actually a lot of people in their email inbox have people who have turned them down. You need to be talking to those people again. You need to be picking up the phone, emailing these people and saying, hey, a few months ago I spoke to you. You weren't ready for me then. Would you still like some help with what it is that you're struggling with? And we found that just by increasing the number of conversations that we want to have with customers, we have shockingly increased the number of funnels that we sell to customers,
No, I think that's brilliant. I think it's the problem too many people always think is when they get a no that's the end of it. Typically the no is it's just not the right time right now. Or they think, I don't need help with that. I've already kind of have a plan in place. I'm going to try this first. And if it doesn't work, let's talk later. But that follow-up, obviously, the follow-up funnels for us is one of the main things. We joke around about it, but it's really serious. And that is it. For every dollar that comes in the front end of our funnel, all the follow-up funnels on the back make us another 17. And that's so critical. I know I was looking through your site and some of the stuff you got on there. Your whole thing is always about the follow-up, the follow-up, the follow-up. So I think that's fantastic.
Yep. And that's also the first part that we sell to customers as well, is we'll go through their follow-up process. The first thing we'll sell to them.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. So I know one of the main things people are going to start asking, and that is price. And I know you got a whole webinar on how to price a marketing funnel. In fact, Mike and I were talking beforehand, for those of you guys who are listening, I'll put in the show notes the actual link to the details of how to price a marketing funnel and the webinar that Mike created. But in a quick synopsis, or kind of as a teaser for that webinar, how do you price a funnel?
So that's a really good question. And the reason we have this is, out there because it's so important to me. I think a lot of people have a go at me because I believe that everything should be 10 grand or 25 grand or 14 grand a month or whatever. And that's not true. I believe that everything you sell should be profitable. If you have a way to sell a funnel at $100, as long as it is profitable for you, brilliant. Okay. Have a real think about whether you would rather have 100 customers at $100 or one customer at $10,000. That's up to you. But that's the first part, is we have to bear in mind everything is profitable. Now, it's actually a really simple process behind pricing a funnel. Typically, what we'll do is the discovery process. We'll ask, okay, what is it you want? What is it you need? What are your goals? Where are you now? And we have a really good understanding. We'll spend 45 minutes to an hour just asking questions before we even send over a proposal. Can we mention tools on this, by the way?
Of course.
Yeah, so we use betterproposals.io. That's the program that we use. It has a digital signature thing. You can measure your income. You can save templates and stuff. But we actually have a proposal just pre-written in there that we use, and that's great. That's fine. That works for us. But first of all, I know how much I need to make per month, and I know that a project is probably going to take 2 months. Okay, so therefore I know that I need to have at least 2 projects a month or 1 project every couple of months to be able to keep my overheads going. That's just some basic maths that I know, and your guys should work that out too. How much do you as an individual need to earn per month? Okay, that's you personally. That's your mortgage. That's your rent. That's your bills. That's going out to the cinema. That's food, your personal expenses. Then you need to be really clear on how much it's going to cost your business to just stay open tomorrow. What is your office rent? What are your hosting bills? What is your subscription plans to other services? And you need to know that amount. So for the sake of posterity, let's say I need to earn $1,000 for me personally. My business costs me, $500 a month to keep open. And the last thing I need to figure out is I'll go through all of those needs and those goals from the customer, and I'll work out, okay, well, what is it I'm actually going to deliver to get them there? And I spend some time finding out, well, how much is it going to take me to deliver that? Do I have to buy another subscription platform? Do I have to buy them a new website? Do I have to build them a new website on top of the funnel? Do I have to write some email copy for them? Will they need an email writer? Will they need photos? All of this kind of stuff. I figure out how much is it going to cost them. I put all of those costs together, and we add anywhere between 30 and 50% margin on top of it. That's basically how we work all that out.
I love that. That's awesome.
Right. Super simple. Yeah. There's no written rules, and the reality is you should be clear. This is why understanding who you go after is so important, because I want to go after businesses that have a turnover at least $1 million, which means they're going to be spending at least $100,000 a year on marketing, which means I know that I could probably get anywhere between $50,000 and $75,000 for that. So when I put a proposal towards them to solve their problems, it's going to fit within that budget, and they're not going to go, oh my God, that's so much money. Because you have to price it like this to be profitable for you, because you owe it to yourself and to your customers to be profitable. Because if you're not around in 6 months' time, you're not helping anyone. You're literally not able to help anyone. So by going ahead and making sure that you know that every project you price is profitable, by adding that margin, the easiest way to do it is to just take the costs of the suppliers, take how much it's going to cost you, and just times it by 3. That's ultimately the easiest way to do it. That's the fastest way to do it. But you have to understand what it is you're delivering and understand those costs in order to make sure that every project you put forward, which is another reason why we standardize and we have a particular vertical we go after, because we know that the price is probably going to stay pretty much the same within all of our projects. Super, super simple, man.
Man, that is so smart. I love that. In fact, I really encourage anybody who's listening to this to rewind that segment and listen to that piece again as far as price, because that I know when I've had some crazy stories personally as far as pricing things way too low and pricing things way too high, and coming in and you're like, whoa, did I screw that up? And you're like, you know what? You only get that one shot to really make that deal. And so I love how you do that. And I think, again, it really makes it a lot easier when you're in that same vertical, because things are pretty common across within one vertical, where it changes quite a bit. If I'm working for a plastic surgeon versus where I'm working for someone who's selling, furniture, or it's totally different, and the margins are different, and where they're trying to go is different. So I love that idea. So great insight. I appreciate that.
Hi, welcome.
Well, Mike, as we get close to kind of wrapping things up here, any other tips or tricks you want to make sure our listeners have?
The only thing I would say is, when you're selling a funnel to a customer, remember that you're the expert. Like, I've been privileged enough to work with some of the guys who listen to this podcast, and I have to keep very quiet because I'm embarrassed about how much I don't know. And I'm a guy who teaches people how to sell funnels. If I'm saying that, oh my God, you guys who listen to this know what you're talking about. You do know what you're talking about. So your customers are ignorant. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. They are dumb. When they say to you, oh, my nephew tells me that Instagram is a really good place to advertise, you just go, do you know what, your nephew, that's fine. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but he doesn't know jack about running a profitable marketing funnel. You can let them get these ideas out on paper, and we do that as an exercise. We say, why don't you just tell us everything that you think you want to do? And we'll agree with them and go, do you know what, that is an option. But what we have found is ... and make sure that you're the expert. What you should be putting forward is what should be working for your customers, not what your customers think should work for them. And it's really important that you have that. And, I just want to say that if you're not sure that you're an expert, I guarantee you're better at building funnels than I am. I'll promise you that. So you can at least be better than one person in the world, all right?
Well, Mike, that is a fantastic note to end on. I love that. I think I really hope you guys, as you're listening to that, take that to heart, because
definitely.
A lot of you guys who are listening to this have been listening to our podcast quite a bit. You guys are out there building funnels, and you're just trying to find the right way of selling it. This has been a fantastic podcast, Mike, from really helping a person who wants to be in the business of selling funnels to really understand that. So I think that's fantastic. I greatly appreciate your time today.
No, you're very welcome. And I just want to say, Dave, as well, I love the podcast. Like, it's weird being on this side of it. So I'm a huge fan.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. Again, I wish you all the success in your business. It's so exciting for me to see how it's growing. It's interesting seeing your podcast up and running. I love seeing that as well. So, again, if you guys want to reach out to Mike, what's the best way of reaching out to you, Mike?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Mike_Killen. Or you can just hit me up on the website, which is sellyourservice.co.uk, and my email address is just, michael@sellyourservice.co.uk. And I'm always checking my emails, so yeah, hit me up.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Mike, thanks again. Appreciate your time today. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thanks for listening to Funnel Hacker Radio Podcast. If you'd like to be notified anytime we release a new episode, just subscribe over at funnelhackerradio.com. In addition to that, we'd love to send you a free gift. You can find that free gift at funnelhackerradio.com/free trial. One last thing is, we love giving away cars. So if you'd like access to a free dream car, All you have to do is go to funnelhackerradio.com/dreamcar and you'll get all the details. Thanks again for listening.